What's up guys, Matthew said a Remax First Choice here, and today's video I'm actually going to be going over Listing Impossible, a show that premiered on CNBC a few weeks back, so there aren't too many episodes, but I wanted to give my opinion on what I've watched so far. Now I was going to do this a few weeks ago when I made the Selling Sunset video, kind of missed the boat on that one, but this one I think I'm on time, so I hope you guys enjoy. That's ironic because I really didn't think I was going to like this show. I went into it expecting not to like it, expecting just to watch it for the video. And to be honest, after about 20 minutes, you kind of realize that the ads made it seem like he's like this hotshot kind of full of himself agent. But in reality, he had a pretty tough beginning. He started from the bottom, worked his way up. And I like his approach to, he has like 60 agents under him. I like his approach to dealing with those agents. He tells them, whereas most of these guys in his position, they only want the $30 million houses. This guy tells his agents, you know, and he practices what he preaches. You have to go to normal houses, make your bread and butter there, and then, you know, on the side chase these super exuberant houses. But most agents in his position won't admit that. They think they're a little too good for it. But this guy admits that, and not only that, but he treats all of his agents like gold. I mean, he really works for his agents, trying to get them these listings, trying to get, you know, their name out there, trying to, you know, get them to earn an income, and I think that's great. So initially I didn't think I was gonna like it, but after watching it, I really like this guy and I really like the show. The show that follows the Arron Kriman team of Compass Real Estate in Los Angeles. Basically, he sold like $5 billion, I think his number is now, worth of real estate, and it's all super luxury. I mean, we're talking like $60, $70 million houses. There's plenty of, like, you know, $10 million, $5 million houses too, but the show follows mainly those super high prices just because, I mean, let's face it, they're a lot nicer, they're a lot more fun to look at. But his approach is a little bit different than most agents out there. A lot of these houses, what happens is the owners will build it to their exact specifications, and life sort of happens, and eventually they go to sell it. The problem is they built it to their specifications and not to the general public specifications. So selling it is always sometimes a nightmare. A lot of agents will come in just to get the listing and tell the sellers what they want to hear a little bit as far as price and as far as what they think of the property. And some of these houses, man, some of them sit for thousands, sometimes thousands of days, just sitting on the market, and it's tough because the agent's not really telling the seller what they need to hear. So eventually what happens is the sellers will fire that agent, and then this guy, Arron Kriman, his specialty is to come in and really tell the sellers what they need to hear, which can be tough sometimes. Because with these houses, the owners built it. They put their blood, well, not necessarily blood, sweat, and tears, but they put a lot of thought into these houses. So there's a bit of an emotional, as always, there's a bit of an emotional aspect to the house. But because they designed it, when realtors go to tell them, hey, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that, those sellers feel personally offended. So it's a little bit more tough when you're talking to these sellers. Basically, this guy's specialty is he comes in, he tells them what they need to hear. He stages the house. He'll make a few remodeling suggestions, which if the sellers want to sell their house, they'll follow. Usually comes with a price decrease because although they might have paid $20 million for the house, it might only be $15 million based on the comps. You know, and eventually it'll sell. But that's really his specialty is coming into these listings that have been sitting for you know, years sometimes, and get it sold. All right, so this first listing he's gonna be going over, I think is a perfect example of what I was talking about when I say sometimes people in LA, they build these beautiful houses for themselves, but not generally for the regular public, or not regular public, but for buyers in that price range, and it makes it really tough to sell. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about because she's very emotionally invested in the property. There's a divorce going on too, so that kind of draws into everything. So right off the bat, Arron is super nervous because the agent who got this listing is already saying he doesn't really want to work on it. He wants to be more an advisor, kind of take a back seat, and in a $30 million price range, and this guy's kind of a new agent, doesn't do too much business. He's wondering why. So right off the bat, he's a little bit nervous. He's been doing this for a while, so we can kind of tell when he's walking into a quote-unquote nightmare.
It's a warning sign that Todd doesn't want to represent the seller. It makes me wonder about the seller, about the situation, and what's really going on.
So obviously right off the bat, it's a beautiful house.
There's not another home like it. It is such a beautiful place. Between guest house garage and the main house, and you have the private courtyard. The main house is about 7,800 square feet. Then you have the pool in the backyard, 2 dock spaces. It's just the perfect family.
I would stay in there any day of the week. I don't know if I'd buy it though. When you have that much money, you're probably thinking you want to get something built to your specifications and not necessarily buy into someone else's specifications. So in this price range, that's a problem you're going to run into very frequently. And the seller and Arron, as well as his other agent and the agent who brought her to Arron, it starts off pretty cordial.
Hey, how are you? Good to meet you. Pleasure. Morgan, how are you?
Pretty similar to any other listing appointment. And a few minutes into it is when he really starts to do what he does best, and that's just be honest with the seller, explain why it might not work for other buyers.
Napkin fabric, the walls here. I love this. Don't love the fabric. We set this up as an office. You kind of did it halfway. Like, you didn't carry it through. So you have a table, you have these two chairs, but it feels empty. It feels like an afterthought. There's a bed.
And you know, that's the best thing for the sellers, to hear the honest truth. And you can kind of see the tension start to rise a little bit, and then eventually you can tell she's just unhappy with what she's hearing.
Don't go from room to room picking and pecking it apart, okay?
So one thing I really like about Arron and how he runs his business is when he's facing these $30 million houses with potentially $600,000 in commissions, he's not afraid to walk away if the seller just won't take what he's saying into consideration. A lot of the time sellers just don't want to hear it, and sometimes agents, just hoping they'll get the listing, they'll take it at the price or whatever condition it's in. Whereas Arron, he's willing to walk away, which is really tough. I mean, even if you're earning those kind of commissions for a while now, it's got to be tough to walk away, but he will. That's how he runs his business. He sticks to that script, and it obviously works out for him, and it's got to be super tough, but he does it anyway. All right, so this next listing in Napa Valley must be really tough as well for Arron. Not only has it been sitting for like 1,800 days, which is a red flag for buyers, but it's also, again, a very super specific property. Beautiful, but very specific, but they're also selling the vineyard with it. So your pool of buyers just got much smaller, because not everyone who wants to own this kind of house wants to own this kind of business. So that pool is tiny, and everyone in that pool has probably seen this house before, so it's due for some upgrades, renovations, or a price reduction, and it doesn't seem like these sellers are willing to do any of that. The agents have told them that. On top of that, the house is a little bit cluttered.
Collecting crap in your bookshelf isn't a British thing. It's a hoarder thing.
We do respect your English.
A lot of quirky stuff, a lot of small things they could change, but they just choose not to acknowledge it and choose not to change it.
Look at the fake flowers. They're still here.
I see fake. Are those real?
Those are real.
Which shows that they're a lot more stubborn than they should be if they want to sell this house. I think there are about 5 episodes at the time of me filming this. Again, I like this show. I can't tell whether or not it's accurate just because I don't deal with this price range. And when you're at this price range, it's a completely different job. But I like Arron. I like the show. It's actually pretty good. There's no drama into it. It's just straight real estate, which I love. And it shows the more gritty side, dealing with these sellers, telling them what they don't want to hear, and kind of getting into that back and forth. So I do like this show. I'm going to continue watching it. And I hope you guys like this video. If there are any other shows you want me to watch, just let me know.